at Sobel and Company. I want to welcome you to Sobel Insights. Sobel Insights is a weekly series to provide some brief information on various topics. Our goal is to keep these sessions to 15 minutes. At this time, we do not offer CPE. If you have any ideas for topics or speakers, feel free to email me. Today's topic, scaling an accounting department. My partner, Aurora Rosado Lazzaro, will be speaking on this, and interested, she came up with the word scaling, so I'm interested to hear what she has to say about it too. Why would a company outsource their accounting department?
Thanks, Brad. So there's a few reasons. Of course, it's a lot more cost effective if you have the right structure in place, because it uses experienced professionals that are highly skilled to have the processes be as effective and efficient as possible. There's also a lot of consistency in the services, and management doesn't have to worry about turnover. We handle the people, we transition the knowledge, and they just basically have to hand off their accounting to us. Additionally, it creates a little bit more discipline in terms of financial management. A lot of our clients, we have scheduled days that we work on things, we have scheduled days that we meet with management, and most importantly, going back to why this is called this, it's scalable. So with COVID, the disruption that was caused to a lot of our clients, we were actually able to even scale it back. So when clients hit the bumps in the roads, we were still able to support them, but without being a burden in terms of costs on them, but still being able there to help them with their PPP. We just basically move things around, change the timing of things. And for clients that are growing, it's scalable because you might start out with one resource, and then if you need another resource, we can put a whole team together for you. In addition, where it's actually really helpful is in transitions. So a lot of times you have an internal resource that might be retiring, or they haven't been able to find someone. We can actually come in before the resource is gone and learn their position. And then when the company's actually able to find the next person, we can transition the knowledge of that person's role. And sometimes it ends up just resulting in them wanting to outsource the function because they don't want to have to go through that over and over.
That's interesting. I mean, we are always looking for staff people, so I know the pain, and I can't imagine some companies, some of the bigger companies, you're dealing with the IBMs of the world, sure, they probably have a easier time finding people, but some of the smaller companies have a more difficult time, where this helps to take that issue away from them because now they have a constant resource and we're always staffing it. You kind of softly listed some benefits. I can think of one benefit that I'll say, but I want to see if you say it. And this isn't a test, it's not a trick, but I've got one in my mind that from you talking, it never dawned on me. Are there any other benefits to the shift?
Sure. So in terms of what management is good at, it's a lot less for them to have to manage the finance function if we take it over. They could focus on what they're good at, and we can take care of the back office for them. In addition, it's less, it's less costly. Of course, we talked about that. And in the model that we implement, it's virtual. So what we actually had, so I'll give you a perfect example. One of our clients, they had a computer on site, and then when COVID happened, nobody could access the computer. Thankfully, we had set up a link to it, so I was the only one who could actually make a QuickBooks backup for them and restore it in a cloud-based solution, because it was a college, nobody was allowed to go back on campus, and they never thought that that would be useful. In fact, they were like, we don't want to pay for that every month. And then COVID happened, and then they're like, can you get our file? And we were actually able to restore it for them. So I think the virtual environment, we were ready to kind of hit the ground running when people weren't ready to be virtual yet. We made it easy for them. So there's a lot of benefits in terms of making the shift.
The one benefit that I see just came to me as you were talking. I never even thought about it. I've been working with you for how many years? I've been in this profession for 30 years. And I've seen this outsourced services. And one thing that never dawned on me, I attended a introduction to Six Sigma, which is a way to develop processes in your organization. The one thing I notice of most organizations that create problems is the interruptions. Constant interruptions. I know you're working on this, but just do this. I know you're working on this, but just do this. We see it in our office too.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have somebody in-house, they're always going up to that person. They're interrupting the person. Yes, that person has their routines. They get very good at their job. A lot of times, my mother was a bookkeeper and office manager and knew her job great. but they get interrupted. Whereas I guess if they use you, you're focused, you're performing your function. You're not getting distracted of, where's the toilet paper? Anybody have the toilet paper?
Yep. In times where we actually transition an in-house person to an outsourced resource, that's usually sometimes the biggest hurdle is people don't actually realize how much that one person did. And then when we define our services, they're like, wait, but who's going to open the mail and who's going to do this? And usually they'll have to take one role that they may have had someone working in the position for 20 years. And now it's actually, okay, maybe it's an administrative person and then the outsourced finance function. So it's a lot. And you have a lot of companies that they grew over these years and they did have that one person there. And then when that person's ready to retire and they go out to the marketplace, they can't even believe the cost that it's going to cost them to replace that person.
Right, right. So you mentioned going in, and I know you use the word onboarding a lot. What is the transition, the process look like?
Sure. So it's different for every client, and we try to make it as seamless as possible. And we try to also customize what that process is. I think a lot of people don't realize there's a few ways you can actually outsource. So you can have it where we take over just a process, or we take over the entire back office. Sometimes we're taking over the entire back office and then providing an outsourced CFO or outsourced controller role. So a lot of times what we do is we assess the requirements in terms of touches. So whether or not someone who may have had a resource daily can now go to, okay, you know what, we're only going to do weekly bill pay. And are they able to actually have their mind shift, be able to work like that? Sometimes it's really hard for the first few months if someone was used to having someone every day, now to have it just be once a week or, once every 2 weeks. But it goes back to that discipline. They actually focus on it more versus just throwing tasks at someone. Another thing that we do is we'd like to get everyone on the same accounting platform. So for us, we use QuickBooks Online. And what I like about QuickBooks Online is that the learning curve in terms of they want to have an internal resource work on it is relatively low. And we can provide training to anyone that might be working in-house. Sometimes if you have a company and it's the owners working on the books themselves, we're able to give them access and they can still have some control. They can go in it. We can show them how to run reports. For my nonprofits, I usually memorize reports for each of the program directors and we give everybody access. I think it increases the transparency because people can actually see what's going on. Another thing that I think that people don't realize is that by the year 2025, the outsourced finance function is going to be the most commonly outsourced function in all businesses. Then would probably come IT and then HR, but it's that finance function because if you use technology right, and you can check out our Sobel Insights on cloud computing, you can actually gain a lot of efficiencies, and something that was an administrative cost can actually become something that works like a really well-oiled machine.
Right. And I keep going back to that interruption thing, and we're in this, we're doing Zoom right now, but the Teams, the Zoom environment where people are just inundated with meetings, and we see it internally ourselves. We just sat through a training today for 8 hours, but this, I guess the way that you format it is that when I'm meeting with the owner or management, leaders in management, it's a set time. So it's not just the constant disruptions, it's a set time and you're getting focus. Mm-hmm. There's a means to us coming out here. And they look at it now, unfortunately, they probably look at you like a little bit of a cost because they say, oh, you're coming out, I'm paying for it, I got to make it worth it. Well, that's fine. If that's the way you're going to look at it and that's what's going to be successful, good.
Yeah. What we do with a lot of clients, because like I said, we're able to gain efficiencies using technology and the team we have established, is most of these engagements, we do structure it as a fixed fee. And most of that is done as a monthly fixed fee because it's a lot easier for management to manage around a fixed fee cost versus that traditional rates times hours. I never want anyone to be scared to call me. I don't want them to think if they call me that they're going to get a bill for $700 because they called me for, 2 hours. No, we want to be there. We want to be part of their solutions, and the fixed fee arrangements really helps to grow a partnership.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Everybody's doing the math right now, the 2 hours, $700, but So CAS, AICPA came up with this concept many years ago, and I've been talking about it with Alan when I was on council, CAS, Client Accounting and Advisory Services. And that covers a very big spectrum of types of services, because they're saying, they're taking away from the old monikers that I don't want to bring up now. And this CAS relates to providing the accounting and advisory services, not a test, not tax. This is different. And one of the elements I know is a virtual outsource CFO. You can have like a bookkeeping, the core services, which we have, hate to use that B word. And then you have controller type of levels, and you have CFO. So it's different levels. Now, the CFO, what like comprises a virtual CFO?
Sure. So why I think the virtual CFO works well in an outsourced capacity is that traditionally that can be a really big salary for companies. And especially in times like COVID, where they needed that guidance and they needed someone to help them plan, what's my budget going to be like for the next year? Okay, I got this PPP loan. How do I spend it now? They can actually have a virtual CFO on demand and get those tasks completed, and they're able to move forward without having to carry a really high salary for an entire year. So I think the most important things is that you have, bundled services. You pay only for the services that you need. You have a high level resource who, for example, if I'm an outsourced CFO for a client, I have, over 10 years of experience. I was an auditor. Now I've been doing this CAS work with my tax knowledge. I'm a CPA. There's a lot of experience and technical skills that you can get at an outsource level, which if you were going out to the marketplace and trying to find a candidate who filled all those boxes, it might be a little bit harder. In addition to it, being part of a firm like Sobel, I have access to a bench that's, all my partners, all the managers, everyone who specializes in things. If there's something that I don't know or an issue that comes up for a client, I can go to, if it's evaluation, I can go to our evaluation group. If it's a technical tax issue, I can go to our tax department. If it's an international issue, we have our global alliances. So there's a lot more value that we can bring versus just, what's the price that you're paying and what's the deliverable. So I think that it works really well.
So the good thing about it, and I never thought this either until he said certain things. So the good thing about using an outsourced CFO or controller or core services is almost like dating. I don't know if I want to commit to hiring somebody of a salary of $150,000, $300,000, $500,000 as a CFO. $500,000. I hope you're in the millions, tens of millions of sales, and you're not really thinking about that much. But you know what I mean? I don't know if I want to commit to that salary level. Let me at least go this route and then define the role and define the function of what I'm looking for. How many times I see people bringing in a CFO and they're using them in controller capacity?
Absolutely. Sometimes they're using them, as they're doing bank recs, they're doing payroll journal entries, and you have this really high cost resource that you're not actually leveraging properly. So yeah, a virtual CFO, you can leverage it for the skills you need when you need it. And when we do the back office accounting, you have the level of skills for that range too.
Right. So, well, those are the questions that I had. I do appreciate you coming on and talking to us about this, especially since I heard the word scalable and I got scared. Little things scare me.
No, I really did see it in COVID because, like I said, our clients who struggled, we could be there for them. Our clients that weathered the storm well, we were there for them too. So it really is a good solution, especially when times are good and when times get bad.
Okay, well, great. Now I learned a new word today and how it's used. I was using it inappropriately before. But I do want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for watching. And as Aurora said earlier, check out our other videos, especially the one on cloud computing as it relates to this. But look at our other videos. And again, if you have any other ideas for topics, feel free to send them over. Thank you very much again.
Bye.